The world shifted, and suddenly, work meetings were happening in living rooms, kitchens, or wherever we could find space. No more commutes, no more office distractions. It felt like a dream. But today, many companies are eager to bring everyone back to the office. So what's behind this push? Some companies believe that in-person collaboration just works better. And honestly, I get it. You can't replace those spontaneous hallway conversations or quick face-to-face meetings that spark new ideas or even lead to new projects. That sense of connection you get in the office, it's hard to replicate. But it's not just execs versus workers. It's also about personality. Maybe you thrive in a busy office, feeding off the energy around you. Take onboarding, for example. It's just smoother in person. Building relationships, meeting coworkers, and collaborating for the first time. It's all easier when it's done face to face. Consider Tesla. Elon Musk has made his stance very clear. Employees must be physically present in the office for at least 40 hours per week, or they should consider finding other jobs. He believes in-person work drives focus, innovation, and teamwork, key ingredients to Tesla's success. When you're new, learning remotely is just harder. It's one thing to swing by someone's desk and ask a question. It's another to send a Slack message and wait for a reply. I know people who started new jobs during the pandemic and felt isolated. They never really got to know their coworkers or felt like they could perform at their best. And studies back this up. The Harvard Business Review emphasizes that companies with high employee engagement have better overall performance. Employees who are really bought into a company's culture are more likely to be innovative and go above and beyond in their roles, stay longer, which contributes to long-term success. A Stanford study also shows that fully remote work is associated with lower productivity than fully in-person work, stating challenges like communication, barriers to mentoring, building culture, and issues with self-motivation. With communication, there's so much of it that is non-verbal. When we're only communicating through video calls, phone calls, or messages, we miss a lot of the subtleties. Sure, you can do everything remotely, but there is a lot that gets lost in communication. And maybe you actually like going to the office, maybe you enjoy interacting face-to-face, and appreciate a clear separation between work and home. But remote work can be a place where people cheat a little. You're not constantly being watched, so you can take breaks whenever you feel like it. It's great for flexibility, but sometimes it's harder to stay focused at home. Companies like Yahoo and IBM tried remote work but reversed it. They felt it led to less collaboration and innovation. And then there's Goldman Sachs, another company pushing for employees to return to office. The argument is, in high-stakes environments like that, even small improvements in performance that would otherwise be lost when working from home can translate to huge gains. Remote work has hit businesses that rely on office workers, like food trucks, dry cleaners, and laundry services. These businesses thrived on commuters' lunch breaks and pre-post-work routines, but with fewer people in offices, demand has dropped. But let's consider the other side. Remote jobs existed before COVID, and they'll still be around after. But if you're really set on being fully remote, you need to stay competitive as employees scramble for vacancies. In 2023, about 35% of full-time employees worked from home at least some of the time, a bump up from 34% in 2022. Employees argue that the push to return to office has nothing to do with productivity. One argument is that there's a lot of money tied up in office real estate. These companies have invested heavily in their office spaces, and they need to justify that expense. McKinsey report suggests up to $800 billion in value could be wiped from office properties by 2030, sparking what's called an urban doom loop, in which falling property tax revenues make cities less livable. The eventual result will be the death of urban real estate. Then there are the tax breaks. There are companies that want to keep those tax breaks for having office space in cities. Basically, to get these tax breaks, companies, for example, would need their employees in the office for at least 60% of the time, about 3 days a week. And then there's a more subtle strategy, silent layoffs. By enforcing return to office policies, companies know some people will quit. Ironically, the longer companies fight against remote work, the more incentive they give competing businesses to offer flexible work environments and attract the best talent. For many roles like marketing, productivity isn't easy to measure. Managers might push for in-office work to judge productivity based on visibility rather than actual output. It's the old bias. If I can't see you, you're probably not working. Technical challenges made transitioning to remote work feel like learning a whole new language, especially for those who've spent years in the office and had to get used to tools like Zoom or Slack. The early days of the pandemic were chaotic. Companies were forced into remote work without a plan. Tools were lacking, training was minimal, and fear was widespread. But now, remote-first companies have figured it out, making everything more streamlined and efficient than the chaotic early days of the pandemic. Companies like Shopify embraced remote work during the pandemic, with Shopify announcing that it would remain a digital by default company post-pandemic. They saw increased employee satisfaction due to flexibility and the ability to hire talent globally. Companies could focus on outcomes and allow employee autonomy, which would mean success is measured by the quality of work, not the time spent in the office. This can create a more efficient and flexible work culture. Just goes to show that companies just really need to be more intentional about creating a remote environment. For many, remote work is a huge relief. No commute, increased savings in terms of time and money, and the comfort of home. Ultimately, it's about what works best for each person. Some need the structure of an office, while others excel remotely or in a hybrid setup. So what's your setup? Do you think remote work is here to stay, or are we all slowly heading back to the office? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to see our next video.